Hello, and welcome aboard the Dream Harrier, the ship that flies your gaming space. I'm its captain, Snake Man, and we are in the 17 o'clock, what was that, 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock hour of 428 Shibuya Scramble. Why is this bar here? Get this out of my way. Hello, Kurislachi. Hello, Barrier Trio. Hello, Plombo. And hello, everyone else out there. We are close to the end. I just realized that this still has the thing I was from the... I had a thing for the other scene when I was playing golf. I fixed it. So we're playing 428 today, and we're close to the end. Now, I don't know how long the end would take, but I had to make a decision. I made a decision tonight where, because we're at 17:30. We're in the middle of the 17-hour clock. We already finished Minorikawa's 17 block. We are partway through Kano's. Osawa starts partway through. And Maria is done. Maria is out of here. Hello, Lena. We also haven't started Achi. So Achi is currently with Hitomi, and they are currently in the custody of Jack Stanley. Kano had to confront Detective Tatsuno, but he couldn't shoot him. Luckily, Kanan or Kanon? I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, so she has the anime, and we're gonna watch the anime in the Discord, and I was just making sure it worked. And they say her name differently in the English dub than I've been saying it. Minorikawa is currently sprinting to find the SOS, the gang of hoodlums, for the final piece of the magazine that they're putting out in order to save Toyama's... Oh. Thank you for the bits. Hello, Normal Syndrome. Welcome. So yeah, Minorikawa's on the way to the SOS hideout in order to finish the magazine to save Toyama's life. And Osawa is finally showing... He showed Kajiwara the emails and has realized that the emails have come from inside the house. They've come from his wife. So there's a good chance his wife is in on it, on the kidnappings. So since we were already in the middle of Kano's story, let's start with there. But yeah, I had to make the decision because I think 18 o'clock is the last block of time. Plombo, I don't know if you want to confirm or not, but when I looked at a walkthrough, I looked at the table of contents just to see how close we were to the end. It seemed to imply that 18 o'clock to 20 o'clock, 6 to 8 would be the last block of time. Okay. Because it would suck if we got partway through that and it got to 2 o'clock, right? And we had to like stop. So I'm gonna make the decision that we're just gonna clean up the 17 o'clock block and then leave the 18 o'clock finale for next weekend. I hope you all appreciate that. We'll see. We'll see how quick this goes. It could be quick. It could be slow. Okay, so Maria is free now. Maria was in the custody of Tatsuno. Tatsuno was gonna shoot Maria if Kano didn't give him Hitomi, but they were both saved by Kanan. And now Maria is active. She is infected, and they have to find her. Luckily, Kanan has a tracking device on her, and Maria turned hers on. Let us begin with the search for Maria. I might need to lower this game still. This game is very all over the place, volume-wise. They ran from South Hill and Nanpei-dai towards Shibuya Station. As they darted and weaved madly through the narrow side streets, Kanan took an occasional glimpse at her PDA. I love that she has a pocket PC. It felt to Kano like they must be taking the shortest possible route to Maria's location. He stayed quiet, keeping pace as Kanan led the way. Before he knew it, they were heading up Dogenzaka. In not too long, they'd be at Endo Electronics. Hey, Kano called out to Kanan. What? She shouted back without turning. Are you sure this is the right area? Are you downing the GPS? I do want to check it out. Can I see it? Actually, can I see that GPS unit? Kano peered over Kanan's shoulder and saw that the GPS was indeed pointing in the direction they were headed. They weren't just running around at random, nor was the unit broken. Huh, Endo Electronics is right up ahead, he said. What? Kanan stopped abruptly. What are you suggesting? The twins are headed for the same location. That's my guess. Still, what did that actually mean? Kano hadn't figured that out yet. They took off running again, and before long, Endo Electronics came into view. Kanan stopped in front of the shop door. Right here, she said, glancing again at her GPS. I knew it, Kano thought. Endo Electronics, the same place Satomi was headed. Guess we're all winding up together, Kanan said. Or else we've been brought together. She peered keenly at the building and its surroundings. Kano swallowed hard. We? You think you've been roped into this too? Quite possibly. Kanan flashed a winning smile, then started to head into the shop. Hold on, I need to report into HQ. Kano hurriedly called Kuze on his cell. No, I have to do the Kuze voice again. Kano, what's going on? It's not that gruff. I don't know what happened to the Kuze voice. Whoops. Kano, what's going on? I've located Maria Osawa. Huh? What's that? Kuze's words came out as a surprised and childish yelp. Come on. Kanan's smile turned to a steely glare. Time is critical. He nodded silently back at her. Kano, what's the location? Kuze asked. Where are you? I can't say right now, sir. Please, just leave this to me. Hey, now just hold on. But Kano ignored the director's squawking and hung up. Kanan had already entered the shop. She seemed wholly unconcerned by the idea that she might be playing right into Alphard's hands. Despite her youth, she clearly thought of herself as quite capable. Warily, he followed her after her. After navigating a veritable cavern of junk, they came to a door that led to the living area beyond. Kanan quietly opened the door and immediately stepped inside. The home was divided into a dwelling area and a workroom. A man's voice could be overheard from the workroom, raised in anger. Don't you want to save Suzune? Kano and Kanan crept closer. Peering through the next doorway, they saw a tense confrontation in progress. Maria and Stanley were standing there. Looking down at a middle-aged man who had restrained Hitomi with a stun gun pressed to her throat. Dad, of course I want to help Suzune. A young man stepped into view, speaking to the older fellow. But do you think this is what she'd want you to do? Kano watched intently, tensing for action. There was so much at risk here. He was about to barge into the workroom when Kanan grabbed him by the shoulder. Let's wait and see how this goes first, she whispered. He realized this was good advice. If they provoked the older man, things could very well take a sharp turn for the worse. They just have to hope the young man could talk him down. So we have a jump point for Achi, but we haven't played Achi yet. In this hour. And I'm being forced to play Achi. Well, I could play Osawa as well, but I think we should probably see how they all came to this location. How they got to there. So yeah, last stream we found out that Achi's dad may have orchestrated a lot of this, or is wrapped up in Alphard's plans to kidnap Hitomi. He's after Hitomi's heart. Achi's sister and Achi's sister has a Bombay. Did we find that out 2 streams ago? Maybe. Well, we're finally dealing with it. Yeah, Hitomi has the same blood type as Achi's sister, which is a very rare Bombay blood type. And Achi's dad wanted his detective friend. Okay, 2 streams ago about the Bombay blood reveal. I think last stream we learned about Detective Tatsuno's involvement. How he accidentally let Suzune die. And, yeah, so Tatsuno felt guilty for letting, not Suzune, but Suzune's mom. Suzune's mom die. And so he feels like he needs to do this. Like, he has to kill Hitomi. Currently, he's been dealt with by Kanan. Let's see what Achi's up to. Like I said, he's with Hitomi and Jack Stanley. Achi told Stanley and Hitomi what his father had done. As she listened, Hitomi hung her head. Her face was sallow. I'm so sorry, Achi told her. I'm not really sure what to say. He clenched his fist so hard his knuckles popped, struggling to keep his emotions in check. So if I were rendered brain dead, you could help your sister? Hitomi murmured. A state where brain function has ceased irreversibly. In Japan, there are 2 conditions for declaring breath death. Breath death? The first is that the patient must be comatose and in a state of apnea, no longer breathing, due to damage to the brain. The second is that the root cause is diagnosed and is deemed that no reasonable treatment will restore brain function. Breath death. Breath death is like an RPG bad guy. Stop, Achi said quickly. Oh. Is that breath death? I kind of have... Well, I have a fan across from the room, but I sleep with a fan. Am I gonna die of breath death? Please don't say those things like that. A sad look came to Hitomi's face, and she pressed her right hand to her heart. I mean, to find out like this. She turned to Achi, tears glistening in her eyes. I want to help your sister, but... We have other things to worry about right now. This time it was Stanley who cut her off. Remember, Alphard is after you, Hitomi. Isn't that what Kanan told you? Yes. She said I was the mastermind's target. Hitomi wiped her tears away with her fingertips. So Alphard and Achi's father are after the same thing, Stanley said. Is that just a coincidence? It didn't sound like he thought so. Hold up, Achi growled, leaning in from the back seat. Yeah, my dad's way out of line. But he did what he did for Suzune. He wouldn't work with terrorists. I'm not saying he's deliberately aiding terrorists, Stanley replied coolly. It's common sense that a pro wouldn't get an amateur involved with their plans. That makes it too likely that a clumsy misstep will cause things to fall apart. But isn't that Alphard's, like, MO? That he likes messy plans? But then again, that's not the way Alphard thinks. So, actually, the likelihood of failure could well be part of the plan. See, that's what I thought. Achi thought back to what Kanan had said earlier. If you achieve your goals using accidental means, the outline becomes blurred, and it makes it harder for anyone outside looking in to grasp what the actual plan is. Not only have they put together a perfect plan, they purposely left certain tiny holes in it. So, if we assume the plan has failed, this slip-up might be exactly what Alphard wants, Stanley muttered. Oh, okay. I didn't know about the folk stories. I wonder if there's a fan yokai that's trying to kill me. Sort of an intentional hole, then, Achi said. Stanley snorted. Kanan told you guys that too, huh? If that's the case, then you really are a fool. What did you call me? Achi barked. If you'd known all along how formidable this opponent is, you should have given Hitomi over to police custody right away. It's only a matter of dumb luck that either of you are still alive right now. I mean, I drove a forklift into a guy. That's not luck. That's skill. The luck is Achi not getting run over or killed every 5 seconds. I guess he has a point then. Look, luck or not, me and Hitomi have managed to get by safely. That's all that matters. What exactly is the relationship between you two anyway? Are you guys dating? Achi and Hitomi exchanged glances. When Hitomi hesitated uneasily, Achi decided he'd better speak up. No, it's not like that. We just happened to run into each other earlier today. Guess I'm not the kind of guy who can abandon someone in trouble. Can't abandon someone in trouble, huh? You sure you're not just trying to make yourself feel self-important? There are plenty of people out there that you can't see who are also in trouble, who are also suffering. If you only help the ones close at hand, then what's the point, really? The world's a lot bigger than you can imagine, and there's a lot you're blind to. So what? If I see someone who's in trouble, I'm supposed to just ignore them? Nah, I can't do that. If I see someone who's collapsed from hunger, I'm not gonna just walk on by because there are people starving somewhere else in the world. I'd be all, hey, let me treat you to a beef bowl or whatever. Let me get you some of that ketchup spaghetti. You couldn't come up with a smarter example? Stanley replied with a tiny laugh. Yeah, theme of Achi hits hard. Also, Stanley finally understanding that Achi is a himbo. Okay, so I'm an idiot, Achi scowled. My bad. Stanley laughed again. Today's been an interesting day, he said. I was just with another fellow earlier who was just like you. Now, let's lower theme of Achi just a tinge. Meaning what? Was he an idiot too? I mean, we both know they're both dumb. Yeah, he was an idiot. Do all you Japanese have that problem? Hardly. My little sister's so smart, she'd make your eyes pop out. Well, I'm sure relieved to hear that. If everyone in this country were as dumb as you guys, I might actually start to like this place. He means it in a positive way, though. See? He's like, aw, you guys are so dumb, but aw. He's a little racist. Huh? What does that even mean? Talk so I can understand, man. Achi shot back. But Stanley didn't respond. Instead, he stuck his head out of the car window, peering out at the road ahead. They were close to Shibuya Station now, and the traffic had ground to a halt. Gridlock again, Stanley grumbled. It's probably better to walk the rest of the way to Endo Electronics. He pulled over on the side of the road. Specifically, the shoulder that runs along either side of the traveled portion of the roadway. A place where trash tossed out the windows of moving cars tends to accumulate. Tossing cigarette butts and empty cans out onto the street can potentially hurt people, and it definitely makes a mess. Please don't litter. Yeah, he drives that big Chevy Blazer. That was my first car. No, I think he has a 4-door. I had a 2-door. Gotta get that Chevy money. Achi got out of the car, feeling his guts not up with worry. Oh, look at those chicken nuggets. They look good over there. Pretty soon he was gonna have to confront his father. That sweet CIA money gets you 2 extra doors? Dang. Stanley gave Achi a look. Are you scared about meeting with your father? I'm not scared. First things first, I'm gonna punch him right in the face. Then we can have ourselves a chat. Don't let your emotions get out of control. Your father might be one of the key players in this case. I don't give a damn about that. Achi took Hitomi by the hand and started walking. They'd gone up and down Dogenzaka so many times today already, but this was probably the last time he and Hitomi would make their way up the hill together. His anger rising, Achi picked up speed as he marched onward, wanting to confront his father as soon as possible. That sounds like a great way to tire yourself out and also get run over, because we've been run over multiple times. Achi walked at an easy pace, wanting to delay the end of their time together just a little longer. That seems like... both of these seem like Achi paths, but I'm gonna take this one. Achi walked at an easy pace, wanting to delay the end of their time together just a little longer. Once they reached his home, this kidnapping case would be all over. You're thinking that A sounds like a get hit by a car option. Or get stabbed. I don't know. Achi's vulnerable and fragile. Once they reached his home, this kidnapping case would be all over, because his own father, Daisuke, would be arrested as the culprit. Kidnapping for ransom carries a potential life sentence, with a definite term of imprisonment of no less than 3 years. Bringing Daisuke down would be easy. Well, he's never been in a rush, you know? I don't know. Achi wasn't worried about that part at all. If he didn't hold back, there was a good chance he'd wind up hurting his father. Holding back. Getting hurt. A memory from long ago rose in Achi's mind. A pure white karate gi. Thrusting out with his left fist. Daisuke collapsing to the floor. One of many memories of his father that Achi could not forget. That does imply that Achi's dad can fight. Though he did get his ass kicked by a little kid. Kneeling before the memorial altar of his mother, Kotane, Achi wept uncontrollably. He clutched his Oajiki tightly in his hands. Oajiki, a toy made of small coin-shaped glass beads, somewhat similar to marbles. The typical game involves flicking one's pieces into the opponent's with a fingertip. Specific rules vary greatly by region. Ah, they have pogs over there? Achi had always been rather clingy with his mother. When she was alive, she had often joined him for oajiki, origami, and the like. On this particular day, Achi had come home miserable after getting bullied by the neighborhood kids for acting like a wimp. Achi. He turned to see his father, holding 2 cups of shaved ice. Come here for a bit. They sat on the stairs together, eating their sweet frozen confections. You want to get tougher? Daisuke's words were soft and simple. How about you and me get tougher together? Achi looked up at his father, frowning in confusion. How are we gonna do that? Well, for starters, how about we learn some karate? Karate? Achi's face twisted up unhappily at the idea. He couldn't even imagine himself punching or kicking anyone. Oh, such an innocent Achi. It'll be alright, his dad said. I'll go with you, don't you worry. Daisuke flexed one of his scrawny arms. His biceps bulged up the tiniest bit. Achi was well aware that his father wasn't much of an athlete. There had been an athletics meet at his grade school. Even now, the memory of Daisuke tripping clumsily during the parent participation relay was burned into Achi's mind. A type of children's event where the parents who have come to watch their children compete are asked to join in with them. Daisuke took part in the tug-of-war only to get tangled up in the rope and dragged over the line. Achi was understandably disheartened by his father's embarrassing display, but after eating the lunch his father had made for him, his spirits quickly returned. Daisuke had made rice balls that were clumsily oversalted, but Achi could tell how hard he'd worked to prepare them. I mean, if you're gonna be there. And so the two began training together at a local karate dojo. Achi put on his white gi and fastened his obi tightly. As he did so, he felt as if his feelings were being anchored in place as well. Ich, ni, san. Achi's gi sleeves made a whooshing sound as he thrust out his fists in time with the sensei's chant. Even simple kata practice made him feel like he was getting stronger somehow. His dad, having left Suzune in the care of their neighbors, was working up a sweat alongside him. But he was out of shape, and his technique was shaky. He was soon exhausted and went to lean up against the dojo wall. Achi stepped out of the training circle and called out to his father. Dad, are you okay? Yeah, I'm just gonna take a little break. Daisuke sounded like he was on the edge of hyperventilating. Thanks, Dad. Huh? What for? For asking me to come to take karate lessons with you. Achi was sure he'd never have dared to go to the dojo alone. Hey, just as long as you're liking it. Now go on, get back to training. With a deep bow, Achi resumed his kata practice. As they were walking home from the dojo, Achi turned to his father. How come you want to get stronger, Dad? He asked. I mean, you're not getting bullied by your friends. Daisuke was quiet for a few moments before answering. His words came out awkward and embarrassed. I was picked on a lot when I was your age too, Achi. I had a friend who would always come and bail me out. A friend? Yeah, a friend. A distant look came to his father's eyes. He was a real fighter. I always looked up to him. I wanted to be strong, like him. His expression turned lonely. I don't get to see him anymore, though. Why not? Achi asked. Did he die? No, nothing like that. Then did you guys have a fight? Something like that. Daisuke smiled sadly. He stared out into the sky for a while before speaking up again. His name is Tatsuno. My friend, that's his name. Achi's father increased his pace. Come on, he said. We have to go and pick up Suzune. After that, despite Achi's questions, Daisuke would say no more about his old friend. By the time he was almost done with grade school, Achi had grown up fit and strong, almost unrecognizable from his younger self. Perhaps he had the physical knack in him all along. Knack was mentioned! I kind of want to play Knack. Not as a meme, I just want to know. I didn't have a PS4 when Knack Fever was going on. He was chosen as the representative for the boys' karate team, even managing to take second place in the national tournament. Nobody bullied Achi anymore. One time, Daisuke suggested that the two of them do some sparring. Achi may have been a national competitor, sure, but he was still a grade schooler squaring off against an adult. His father had been training for close to 2 years now as well, and his confidence had grown accordingly. Achi was excited to be able to face off against his old man. Early on in their karate training, Achi's kumite had seemed rather hopeless. Knack Fever. He had been shocked that his out-of-shape father was able to overpower him, but also pleased to get a sense of how strong the man was. This time, Achi thought, he might well lose again, but he was going to go all out. As they adopted their fighting stances, Daisuke's face was full of confidence. I'm going to kick my little kid's ass. The instructor gave the signal to begin, and Achi opened with a sharp low kick. Daisuke didn't guard against it. The blow caught him in the thigh. It looked to Achi like he'd allowed himself to take the hit, not fearing the effect of a child's kick. Achi proceeded to unleash several more low kicks to the same spot. Bit by bit, Daisuke's face revealed his discomfort. Finally, he yanked his leg away. That was when Achi realized his father wasn't letting himself get hit on purpose. He was just unable to keep up with the speed of his son's footwork. If that was the case, Achi felt bad about exploiting his dad's weakness. He decided to leave his leg alone. No, you take the leg out. Take his leg, Achi. Instead, he aimed a punch at his father's midsection. This is like some Shenmue shit right here. He was shocked by the impact as the blow struck home. Except Achi's dad is no Ryo's dad. He hadn't attacked with a great deal of force. He'd just thrown a light midsection punch as a check. But as Achi pulled back his fist, Daisuke crumpled to the floor, writhing in pain as he clutched his gut. Achi stared in disbelief at his own hand. That was the last day that Daisuke went to the dojo. Okay, so we should be able to take him, is what you're saying. Your dad's pathetic. Yeah, he's such a loser. Achi was on his way home from practice, and some older students from the dojo had started ribbing on him. What did you just say? These kids were middle schoolers, but Achi wasn't about to back down. He thrust out with a quick punch, stopping it just short of one boy's nose. Go on, say that again. I'll kick your ass. The older boys went pale, then took off and ran. But this small victory did nothing to bolster Achi's spirits. His father had looked so small and lonely, heading away after quitting karate. But Achi didn't think there was anything pathetic about that. Sure, maybe by now, he was better at karate than his father. But really, what difference did that make? In growing stronger, he learned something. Using force to win out over someone else didn't mean anything. Strength alone didn't determine a person's worth. Achi loved and respected his father for going to the dojo with him. Beating him in a karate match didn't change the way he felt. Achi resurfaced from his memories to hear Stanley talking on his phone. I see, so that's what's going on. Once we're finished with things in Dogenzaka, I'll bring Hitomi right back to the precinct. Curious, Achi turned to the American. Who are you just talking to? Stanley's reply was clipped. That other idiot I was telling you about earlier. With that, Stanley proceeded to wrap up his phone call. Guess I'm not gonna get much out of this guy, Achi thought. Stanley and his idiot friends. He loves them. We're starting to crack Stanley's outer shell. By now they could see Endo Electronics up ahead. Achi was about to hurry inside when Stanley stopped him. I'll go in first. You two wait out here. No way, this is my dad we're talking about. And you don't think it's dangerous to bring Hitomi right to him? Well, alright. We'll wait here for a bit, and once we know it's safe, we'll head on in. You cool with that? I'm cool with that. Stanley stepped inside. Achi fussed about impatiently, staring at the entryway. The palm of his clenched fist was sweating. Never before in his life had he wanted to just deck his old man. Hitomi watched him uneasily. Hitomi. Yes? I'm sorry. I really don't want you to have to see this, but I think you're about to witness the crowning shame in Endo family history. Achi, don't say that, Hitomi said. She squeezed his hand. He found his other fist unclenching. Please, you have to try to talk to your father. Yeah, I know. Suddenly there was a loud crash from inside the building. The time for waiting had passed. Let's go. Achi and Hitomi raced inside. Barging into the living quarters without bothering to shed his shoes, he heard his father's voice coming from the workroom. Dad! Achi hurried through the workroom door and saw Stanley holding his father pinned across the desk. Let me go, please, let me go. Daisuke thrashed to both of his legs. Stanley, please, let my father go. I want to talk to him. This music feels inappropriate. Stanley snorted dismissively, but did as he was asked. Daisuke stood up, rubbing at a sore wrist. Well, we know this doesn't go well. Dad, please, you have to tell me. Where's Maria? Maria? What are you talking about? Daisuke wouldn't meet his eyes. Don't play dumb with me. Achi pointed at Hitomi. You know who this is, don't you? Hitomi Osawa, the girl you've been after. Maria is her sister. But Daisuke remained silent. You're gonna pretend you didn't call the hospital? Nothing about maybe being able to get your hands on a heart? I mean, seriously, it's all so simple. Even I can tell what's been going on, and I'm dumb. You've been watching me and Hitomi through the surveillance cameras. And you were telling that guy with the cane where we were. The blood began to drain from his father's face. Don't you go quiet on me. If I'm wrong, then go ahead and tell me the truth. Daisuke's arm shot out suddenly, knocking an external hard drive from his desk onto the floor. Look at that chunker. 2008, baby. It was over and done before Stanley could stop him. Stanley hunched down and picked up the shattered drive. I'm guessing there was important data on here. Footage from the cameras, maybe? I have no idea what you're talking about, Daisuke spat. I mean, it looks fine on me, to me. You'd be surprised what you can get out of, like, a broken hard drive. You can't do this to innocent people, Dad, Achi shouted, grabbing his father by the collar. There was a sound of footsteps from out in the shop. Someone was quickly getting closer. Stanley grabbed Hitomi by the hand and pulled her back against the wall. Achi stiffened as he turned his gaze to the door. Keep out. What? Here's the thing about Stanley. Also an idiot. At least Kanan thinks so. All right, let's use the jump. I assume this is the jump. The young man. Oh, not the jump. Right? Does not line up. Like, usually it doesn't have to be the same minute, but they usually are pretty close together. Interesting. So we need to go check out Mr. Osawa then. Maybe he gets a message from his daughter Maria. To save Maria. The rain won't let up. The sound is growing louder and louder inside my head. It is the sound of regret, spattering against my heart. My emotions surge like a terrible storm within me. I never wished for this. Never expected my heart to be dragged so far beyond my control. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. The words stormed through Osawa's mind in a relentless cacophony. He called up images of the bodies from the human testing trials on his computer monitor. This song's really loud. He couldn't help but imagine his daughter in some gruesome state. In just a few more hours, Maria would begin hemorrhaging blood and die, just like the people in these pictures had. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. He couldn't shake the words or the reality from his mind. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Osawa began pounding his fists fiercely on the desktop. Sir, what are you doing? Kajiwara tried to intervene, but he kept on pounding anyway. When he finally ceased, the pain of the repeated impacts lingered in his hands. You know, he has very nice fingernails. My research was never about any sincere desire to help people. And now I'm paying the price for that. The only time it finally matters, I can't even save my own daughter. Mr. Osawa. Kajiwara set a hand on his shoulder. You can always blame yourself later. But for now, think again, good and hard. Is there really no other way to save Maria? Nothing else we could try? Osawa shook his head. The only means we had left was using Tanaka's password to unlock the doors. And now Tanaka's dead. There's no other way. Is there a possibility that Mr. Tanaka told someone else the password? This was something Osawa hadn't considered. Was there anyone Tanaka might have shared his password with? Only one person came to mind. Well, yes, there may be someone. You're referring to I, sir. Kajiwara cast his eyes down. You figured that out then? Yes, back during the commotion over that listening device. A necktie clip isn't typically the sort of present one gives to one's husband's coworker. And yet, although some might consider it somewhat, inappropriate, Mr. Tanaka was wearing it as if it were a matter of course. Which, implies something about their relationship. Well, he is a detective. I like the realization, like, so I was like, oh my god, you're a detective. Kajiwara's voice trailed off. He coughed apologetically and tried again. I realize it's an awkward situation, sir, but please check with your wife. Even if I does happen to know the password, that does us no good if Maria gets quarantined someplace we can't reach her. I understand, Mr. Osawa. I'll bring Maria to you then. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. Oh, you left a whole bunch! The detective then produced a bunch of bananas from his pocket. See, I told you he had a whole ass banana tree in his pocket. How many bananas have you pulled out? I think he's pulled out like 4 and then this bunch out of the pocket. Bag of holding with infinite bananas. These are all left over. You're more than welcome to them, sir. Despite his gentle smile, the rest of his face was firm with resolve. You said you didn't care whether other people Oh, that's Kajiwara. You said other people didn't care whether other people understood you, didn't you, Mr. Osawa? Osawa nodded guardedly. At the risk of being presumptuous, sir, I understand you, Kajiwara said. I used to be quite the workaholic myself. You're just like me, innocent and awkward. On another occasion, Kajiwara was shocked to run into a man who looked just like him. The fellow was a stylist at a hair salon Kajiwara visits on occasion. He let out a gasp of surprise of his own upon seeing the detective. Kajiwara felt a peculiar connection and was expecting go to the salon regularly. And was expecting go to the salon regularly, but when the stylist asked what he did for a living, and Kajiwara answered honestly that he was a detective, the other man's face went pale, and he bolted out of the building. Kajiwara never saw that man again after that. I'm trying to, like, figure out what this means, you know? Like, is this person actually real? Is it just someone Kajiwara made up? And represents the other part of Kajiwara? A guy who looked like him was on the run from the cops. When? When was this? Oh, you just now. Okay. I thought maybe there was some reference earlier. I guess I'm trying to just figure out how they look so alike. Like, I understand that, yeah, he heard that he was a detective and bolted, but I guess I'm curious what that means. There's got to be a deeper meaning, I guess, is what I'm asking. Calling yourself innocent, huh? How modest of you. Osawa let out a sardonic chuckle, and after a moment, Kajiwara joined in. They're gonna be great fathers together. The next time I see you, Mr. Osawa, I'll have Maria with me. The detective gave a slight bow, then left the study, a look of determination on his face. Look, I'm still here for the Osawa Kajiwara, yaoi. Osawa watched him go with admiration. No matter what trouble arose, the man always looked for something he could do. He really was a fellow who knew how to hang tough. Compared to that, I'm just... Osawa couldn't even articulate his own self-disgust. And asking Ai about the password would also mean inquiring into her relationship with Tanaka. The prospect was daunting. Venturing into the emotional territory of another person was his weakest suit. He left his study, but somehow found himself making his way to Maria's room, not Ai's. He realized that he hadn't been in his daughter's room since a certain rainy day years before. That was when he slapped her. Now he stepped quietly inside and saw Maria's world laid out before him. A small photo was set atop her neat and tidy desk. It was a close-up of someone's hands doing a cat's cradle. Whose hands were they? From the skin tone, they didn't appear to be Maria's. Several more photographs were pinned to a corkboard that hung on the wall. They were snapshots of people in townscapes from the Middle East. One glance at them and Osawa felt like he was back there for a moment. The images weren't necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but they all looked like they'd been taken by a professional. When he spotted the last photo on the corkboard, however, he was certain that Maria had taken them all. Aw, look at you! The last picture was of Osawa himself. He was facing the camera, holding some luggage and flashing an awkward smile. It was a comical, affectionate image. He'd never known that photography was one of his daughter's hobbies. No, this went beyond a mere hobby. Dude, look how old the cameras! You were paying for these! How'd you never realize this? Did she perhaps aspire to be a professional photographer one day? Yeah, they look like nice cameras. Some of these are vintage. The DSR over there on the left looks really nice. Big old lens. She certainly had the aptitude for it, from the look of things. Maria, a photographer. As he mulled the idea over, Osawa felt his chest tighten. Right now it looked like Maria's hopes and dreams were about to be snuffed out. Her future consisted of bleeding to death a few short hours from now. Osawa stared vacantly out the window. Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling he doesn't care and just gives him money. He's too wrapped up in his virology work. Osawa stared vacantly out the window. The view from Maria's room remained unchanged from so long ago. Again, that rainy day crept back into his mind, as vivid as the present. On that day, Osawa was dealing with some pressing business from work. He had ensconced himself in his study, wrestling with some paperwork, when Hitomi barged in looking distraught. Maria's gone. Sensing that Hitomi was legitimately alarmed, Osawa hurried to Maria's room. He found a letter she'd left atop her writing desk. Dad, you only care about Hitomi. You're always working and never do anything with me, so I'm running away. A few hours earlier, he'd canceled their weekend trip to the amusement park. He just wasn't going to be able to get his work done in time. Hitomi had resigned herself readily enough, but Maria just couldn't accept it. She'd been looking forward to it for so long, she railed at him. How many times now had he broken one of his promises to her? Hitomi understands we can't go, why we can't go. So why can't you do the same? The cold rebuke had ended her complaining, but it was clear that she still didn't accept the situation. Now Hitomi helped them look around, but they found nothing missing from Maria's room. Despite her assertion that she was running away, then it seemed like there was no point in being overly concerned. Maybe she's at the park she always goes to? Hitomi looked worried. The park was roughly a 25-minute walk from the house. It would only take about an hour for Osawa to go get her and bring her home. But an hour was more than he could afford to spare right now. Dad, I think she's waiting for you to go after her. Osawa didn't need Hitomi to tell him that. He knew it well enough. That was what galled him so much about the situation. Why did she have to pull something like this precisely when his work was at its busiest? He'd done everything he could as a father since his wife had passed away. Why couldn't his daughter see that? It's alright. Your sister will come back. The rain was coming down pretty hard outside the window. Do you think she brought an umbrella? Hitomi asked anxiously. I don't know, but with the rain like this, she'll come back home soon enough. He spoke the words for himself as much as for Hitomi. Then he headed back to his study and got back to work. But several hours went by and still Maria did not return. The rain had gotten even more intense, to the point where Osawa could hear it in his study. He was so concerned about his missing girl that he couldn't focus on his work, but he stubbornly refused to give in and go search for her. Several more hours passed. At last, Maria appeared at the front door, soaking wet. Osawa met her silently in the entryway. Wet strands of hair clung to the girl's forehead as she looked up at her father with a bitter glare. You don't care what happens to me, do you? Immediately, Osawa smacked her across the cheek with the flat of his hand. It was the first time in his life he'd ever struck anyone. He hadn't known such a violent impulse could exist inside him. Maria stood there, her hand pressed to her cheek. Tears welled up in her eyes. She began to tremble. On her lip was a small bead of blood. A flood of guilt and regret rose up inside Osawa, as if he just shattered some intricate piece of glasswork. How? How could I do such a thing? He clenched his shameful hand into a fist, and in that moment, he was afraid of Maria. Afraid that his daughter could bring such raw emotion out of him and make him do something so thoughtless. But even more, he was afraid of how stunted he was as a human being. Was someone like him really fit to be a parent? What kind of future could Maria and Hitomi hope for with a father like him? That was why he'd married Ai, as Makino had proposed. Having a mother, he decided, would help keep his family together, despite their sad excuse for a father. But in so doing, Osawa had dug a psychological ditch between himself and his daughters. A deep ditch, so that he could keep his daughters from being hurt. So that he wouldn't hurt himself. Yeah, That's Osawa's story is sad. Now Osawa was staring across that ditch, wondering if it was too wide to leap. He thought back to his earlier exchange with Kajiwara. If you get angry, you show it. If you get sad, you show it. It's human nature to let other people know how we're feeling, after all. But what if doing that hurts the other person? That's when you apologize, sir. Like I said, those two get married, Kajiwara and Osawa. Kajiwara basically, you know, rehabilitates Osawa to be a father. And Maria and Hitomi get two dads. And I guess a step something. I don't know. I think Kajiwara has a child with his ex that he can't see. I don't remember if there was a gender. Yes, that was right. He needed to apologize to Maria for what he had done that day. It still wasn't too late. It's never too late. Remember what Pretty... Was it Pretty Honey? When it comes to family, there's no such thing as game over. I kind of want to take a picture of that and put Pretty Honey, like, have it as a quote. He recalled Pretty Honey's words. He needed to apologize to Maria, and so he needed to ask Ai for that password. I can't believe Pretty Honey was the linchpin in Osawa overcoming his fears. I love that we learned, like, that guy was the grumpiest, angriest old man, and he turned out to be both really good, a farmer, and, like, pretends to be a girl on the internet. That's really funny to me. He might be one of the funniest characters in this game. Like, at least, like, one of the funniest auxiliary characters, right? Osawa's going to have to face his white. Oh, Kajarden, you don't remember? So, Pretty Honey, who is the person that always responds to Osawa on the over 40, was it 30 or over forum at the for the Ai Kamiki idol stuff? Pretty Honey also knows a lot about farming, and he always like responds as if he's a father himself. And if you put it together, No. The IP address was the emails that you got with the murder, with the virus. The Pretty Honey thing is we put that together because we knew a person. I forget exactly how we did it, but it's the dad. It's the grumpy old dad who was waiting in the cafe. Yeah, Shizuo. Kano's girlfriend's dad. I always kept calling him Kano's future father-in-law. It's like, cause he knew stuff about like police work and farming, and he always pretended to like, yeah, so like he knew about farming, he knew about police work. He I think that was all. I think there was a little clue in the cafe or something. Either way, it's really funny. Sorry I got stuck on this. I just think it's great. Osawa was going to have to face his wife. Yeah. That was a while ago. I think it was when it was revealed that Pretty Honey posted like about police things. And then also he talked about Pretty Honey talking about farming. I think that's when I put it together. I don't quite remember. Osawa was gonna have to face his wife. If only Pretty Honey was here. Okay, we have a problem. I guess we don't have too big of a problem. Minorikawa does have a jump point. Kano has a jump point for Achi, but it's not the right time. Osawa and is also at a keep out with no jump point or choices. But luckily we have this jump point. Oh my god, he would tear into her. Alright, wonderful. I forgot that Minorikawa had a jump point for Osawa. Osawa's phone rang and Minorikawa's phone number popped up on the LCD display. The reporter must have finished looking into the matter Osawa had asked about. Mr. Osawa, sorry to keep you waiting. How'd it go? Well, I looked into the background of the story you asked about, and I learned who it was your wife was dating. Who was it? Osawa asked immediately. There was a brief pause. Mamoru Tanaka. I see. Finally, he had proof positive of a relationship between I and Tanaka. Now more than ever, it was no time to waver. No matter how painful the reality was, it was also true that if they hadn't been dating, there would probably be no way of saving Maria. So, Minorikawa said, what was this big thing about disrupting the power balance of the world all about? There's something I need to take care of on my end first. Once I'm finished, I'll tell you everything. Yeah, that's fine. Things are pretty hectic on my end right now anyway. Osawa had expected Minorikawa to put up more of a fight. He'd figure a reporter for 4-star General Gossip would be a bit more persistent. Oh, by the way, there's one other thing I wanted to tell you, Mr. Osawa. Osawa could practically sense the finger pointing his way from the other end of the line. Osawa has interacted with Minorikawa once in person at his gateway, at his driveway, and already he can feel the pointing. Oh, I added a pointing emote. I don't know if anyone has it. It's just a placeholder. It's it's the drunk enemy from Bubble Bobble. What is it? Yeah, I added that just to fill out the emotes. I mean, he's unaltered. He's perfectly pointing and looking at us and screaming. It was perfect. Don't be too angry with your wife. All too often in this world, people let their anger get in the way of solving their problems. You may have a point. Osawa let out a wry chuckle. Alright then, I'll call you back later. Look at him up there. Of course, my chat is on the left side, where most other chats are on the right side. Maybe I should flip it. Osawa found Ai standing by herself in the yard. She kept her back to him as he approached. I'm surprised she's still here. You like it being on the left side? The chat or the pointing? Yeah, that was always my brain when I wasn't a VTuber, so there wasn't me here. Actually, all that was here before used to just be the cover of the game. I in my head was like, well, if the chat's on the right, but there's already a chat box on the right you're interacting with, then you're just looking at a duplicate of what you're already looking at. Like, you have to scan further across. I'm a big believer in windowed, like, watching streams while doing other stuff. And so I will take the thing and hide the chat behind another window. And if they're on the different sides, then I have a chance to also have chat still exist. I think you're right, and everyone else is wrong. Thank you. I need to screenshot that. Thank you. I ended up I ended up leaving the wrong profile on Steam Deck. I need to fix that. I have a moment, he asked quietly. What? She still didn't bother to turn around. There's something important I need to talk to you about. I'm not in the mood right now. Please, I realize you're upset about Tanaka's death, but... At the mention of Tanaka's name, I slowly shook her head. Just tell me what you want. Hurry up and get to the point. Osawa tried to move closer to her, but she pointedly kept her distance. I love this photograph because the bush is like perfectly centered in a way to imply that there's a distance between the two. Like, there is some good photography in this. There's a lot of good photography. We always joke about the comedy stuff, but there is also just like shots like this, right? This is no time to mince words. Did Tanaka give you his password? There was something Osawa needed to hear for himself before this went any further. Were you in love with Tanaka? I think he would ask this. Were you in love with Tanaka? Oh yeah, there was a good shot last stream as well that you were talking about. What are you talking about? Osawa frowned. Why did you marry me? He asked. You've got to be kidding. This is the important discussion you wanted to have? Did you ever love me? I let out a joyless chuckle. Love? I'm amazed to even hear the word leave your lips. There was a note of challenge in her voice. Let me ask you the same question. Did you ever love me? To be honest, I married you because I thought my daughters needed a mother. Wow. I let out a weary sigh. Some of the combative tension left her shoulders. That really is honest, she said. So I guess I should be honest too. I married you because my father asked me to. He wanted to chain you down so you didn't leave for some other company. And you were okay with marrying someone for something like that. For something like that? You really have no idea how much you're worth, do you? The value of one woman's life versus the potential profits your research would bring in? There's no comparing the two. If it meant that Okoshi Pharmaceutical could monopolize your talents, then what did it even matter what I wanted for myself? So I, as a victim, as well. There was something akin to desperation in Ai's words. And so you sent me those threatening emails too. What? I looked at him in shock. He knew he'd guessed correctly. You would go that far, just to keep me tied to your father's business. That's right. I would. I bit down on her lip hard. But what would you even know about how I feel? I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I shook her head vehemently. I've never learned how to pronounce this word, I guess. It's happened multiple times in the stream. Vehemently. I know you don't really chew on the H-E. I don't know. I'm not the victim here. You say that. But isn't it because of me that you and Tanaka weren't able to stay together? I began to tremble. Her secret was out. When did you figure it out? She asked. Earlier today. That tie clip. Heh, right. Not the sort of gift one gives to one's husband's coworker, is it? Even if it was a listening device. Ai's smile was bitter with self-deprecation. Osawa couldn't help but pity her. Even Tanaka must have suspected that she placed the company's profit above all else. If she'd go to such lengths to protect its interests. It was like she'd given up her entire life just for that. Well, she said, aren't you angry? Osawa just shook his head. Could you tell me just one thing, though? He asked. Did Tanaka ever tell you what his lab password was? His password? I needed to get the antiviral out of the lab. I flinched at the suggestion. To get it out? What are you thinking? That belongs to the company. I just need one dose to save Maria. Please. If you know, please tell me. I don't know it. Ai's voice was barely a whisper. Osawa looked his wife right in the eye. You're telling the truth. I am. I see. Then, do you have any idea what number he might have used as a password? Ai shook her head silently, then turned her back to her husband once more. Tanaka hadn't given Ai his password. Osawa's last chance had gone up in smoke. He let out a long, shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more he could do? I was partially considering a bad end, but that's a keep out. Okay, so Osawa's in a keep out. Achi is in a keep out. Kano is in keep out. Kano has a jump point for Achi, but they don't line up. So we're gonna have to find another jump point. So we could change where the meeting takes place here. Right. One of the choices was Endo Electronics, wasn't it? No, there was a name. But one of the names is Endo. So maybe that would do it. I remembered. Endo. Tachi, we go. That's a funny keep out. The workroom door slowly eased open. Achi was too shocked for words. The girl who entered looked just like Hitomi. Maria? Hitomi. Achi blinked in bewilderment. It was almost as if Hitomi were standing in front of a mirror. The two girls looked so similar. How many times did I have to tell you she had a twin sister? Maria, thank goodness you're all right. I'm so sorry I had you worried. Maria was safe, Achi realized. At last, he had managed to fulfill his duty. No. How did you manage to get out of the storeroom? Alright, so that confirms that Maria was in the Endo Electronics storeroom. But why was she in the storeroom unlocked? Well, we know why she was unlocked, because Alfhard wanted her to be out loose, right? Like no one could find her. So I guess that's why it was unlocked. What does the SOS have to do with it? That's what I'm wondering. Where does the SOS come into conflict with this? Daisuke had gone pale. Tell me, Maria said sharply. Who was it who came up with this kidnapping plan? Suddenly, Daisuke shoved Maria aside and lunged for Hitomi. Come on, Achi. Stanley moved to stop him, but before he could intervene, the older man had a hold on Hitomi, pressing something that looked like a flashlight up against her neck. Dad? Achi started towards him, but Stanley held up a hand. Don't move. That's a stun gun. A piece of self-defense equipment for repelling would-be attackers with an electrical shock. There are several types, including baton-type stun prods, and guns that fire needles attached to flexible wires. The latter type especially is frequently referred to in the US as a taser, or taser gun, due to the popular models produced by Taser International, now Axon. Stun guns are used not only by civilians, but also by law enforcement and military personnel for non-lethal application. If he zaps her in the neck, it could kill her. You know your stuff, Daisuke said. You deal in American electronics? No, I do this for a living. Stanley drew his gun in an instant, taking aim at Daisuke's forehead. Achi would jump in the way of this, he would stop Stanley. I'm curious what this would be, but I think what's gonna happen is after we have our big finale, we're gonna have the I'm gonna take a walkthrough probably, and we're gonna have to go find all the bad ends. For now, we'll just do this, because I think this is more appropriate for Achi's story. Jump in the way of traffic, I mean the bullet. Wait, hold on! Achi interposed himself between Stanley and his father. Dad, let Hitomi go. You need to stop this nonsense. Achi walked slowly towards his father, a pleading look in his eyes. Nonsense? Which one of us is talking nonsense here? You don't know what's going on. If only you knew everything, then you'd be helping me. What do you mean, everything? With this girl's heart, we can save Suzune. Dad, who is it exactly that told you that? Daisuke did not reply. I asked you a question. Who was it that put this crazy idea in your head? A foreign organ trafficker I met at the hospital, Daisuke muttered. In Japan, a medical professional known as a transplant coordinator handles the liaison between the donor and recipient parties, but there are many cases of illegal or borderline illegal activity carried out by third-party organ brokers. There are countries where organ transplants are openly performed for monetary gain, and no shortage of specialists willing to do the job. These questionable markets include suppliers who source viable organs and tissue for transplant from cadavers. Stanley let out a snort. A likely story. It's true. I was suspicious at first. Myself, Daisuke said stubbornly. But I couldn't just sit around and wait for Suzune to die. And after talking to him about her rare blood type and all the difficulties of performing a transplant, he promised he'd do everything in his power. Daisuke's hands were trembling. Tears welled up in his vacant and bloodshot eyes. Then a while later, he got back in touch and told me he found a potential match. Someone with the same blood type as Suzune, and roughly the same age. But then he told me that the girl was still alive. And so what was the point? Her heart might be a match for Suzune's, but it didn't matter if we couldn't get our hands on it. And I said that, but then the man told me. He told you what? Or Achi said. He told you what? Achi bit his lip. He told me to abduct her and turn her over to him. After that, he'd find a way to make it all work. At last, Daisuke had confessed. Now Achi had to try to come to grips with the truth he had just heard. I had to do something, his father continued, vehemently. I had to abduct this girl and see things through. I just couldn't take it. Kotane had already been taken from me. The thought of losing Suzune too. I had to make sure I didn't fail. So it was this organ trafficker who came up with the kidnapping scheme then. Oh, that was Stanley. So it was this organ trafficker who came up with the kidnapping scheme then. He kept his gun aimed at his target. Daisuke nodded. Describe him for me. He was tall, had black hair, spoke fluent Japanese. Stanley raised an eyebrow at that. Achi wondered if he had some idea who it might be. And taking Maria hostage in order to lure out Hitomi? That was his idea as well? Yeah, that's right. I allowed his computer to access my surveillance camera systems as well. But then, this morning, I got a call from the hospital saying Suzune's condition was critical. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to help my girl right away. And then... Daisuke cut himself off, reaffirming his grip on his stun gun. I was looking at the surveillance monitor, and I saw a detective I happened to know. He was right next to this girl here. And so I decided to ask him. I knew if I did, he wouldn't refuse. He could never refuse a request from me. And that was the man with the cane? Achi asked. His voice was low and hoarse. Yes, I was giving him directions while I followed you on the monitors. Dad, you need to let go of Hitomi now. There's no point to this. Achi took another step closer to his father. There is a point. If I kill this girl here, and now, your sister can get the surgery she needs. But even Achi knew that things couldn't possibly work out that way. His father had grown so desperate to help Suzune that he'd lost all sense of judgment. Why, Achi? Why won't you help me? Don't you want to save Suzune? Daisuke made a pathetic sight. And yet his desperation to save his child was so palpable, it was heart-rending. Achi thought back to the time he'd laid his father out when sparring. No matter how pathetic he may have looked, Achi had always felt that sense of paternal love from him. You're not going to be able to talk him down, Stanley murmured. Achi shook his head. Stanley, he said, lower your gun. Tears were welling up in his eyes. Please, lower your gun. Hearing the determination in Achi's voice, Stanley quietly complied. Achi stepped up to Daisuke, getting a firm grip on his father's slender shoulder. Dad, of course I want to help Suzune. Then why are you trying to stop me? Dad, do you think this is what she'd want you to do? Daisuke's face fell. Did Suzune ask for this, Dad? Did she tell you to take someone else's heart so that she could live longer? Did she, Dad? Suddenly the fight seemed to ebb from Daisuke's body. The stun gun hung limply in his hand. If Suzune asked me to go and get somebody's heart for her, I wouldn't object. I'd help her, just like she wanted. I wouldn't let you bear these crimes by yourself. But that's not what this is it? Suzune would never ask us to do something like this, would she? By now, tears were streaming down Achi's cheeks. He knew that his father thought about Suzune more than he thought about anyone else. And so he should know full well that she would never want this. Suzune is not like me. She's smart, she's kind, and she'd never be happy about taking someone else's heart. Even if it saved her life, I'm sure she'd never accept that. She wouldn't be able to live with it, knowing something so horrible had happened to take someone else for her sake. Isn't that the Suzune we know? Daisuke's cheeks were smeared with tears now, as well. But then we're not going to be able to help her. The sound of father and son weeping echoed throughout the workroom. Maybe so, maybe we won't. But that's better than the misery and suffering she'd have to live with. Daisuke slumped to his knees on the floor, collapsing like a crumbling mound of sand. Hitomi, freed from his grip, stood motionless. There were tears in her eyes, too. You're such an idiot, Dad. Such a complete, utter idiot. Sobbing, Achi embraced his father. There was a sudden thud from near the door. Everyone turned to look. Maria had crumpled to the floor, and a newcomer had appeared. At some point, Kanan had silently entered the room. Now she cradled Maria in her arms. Standing in the doorway was a man Achi didn't recognize, his face pale. Alright, so we have our jump point, but let's see Achi through. Stanley's been wrong about a couple of things, you know? Stay back! Kanan shouted at Achi when he tried to approach. No, they have not interacted. I think he saw him in the scramble. And I think that's the closest they have come to interacting on the actual path. They obviously had a bad end together. But yeah, I think that's the closest they've come. Kanan shouted at Achi when he tried to approach. It looked like Maria had fallen unconscious. Achi's heart was racing in his chest. An eerie silence fell over the room. For several seconds, no one said a word, their eyes all fixed on Maria. Finally, Kanan looked up, her face ashen. It's starting. Be continued. I kind of want to get back Minorikawa back to his ending so that I can end with Kano and Osawa. So let me just do this real quick. I assume once I get past this page of new dialogue. Endo? Toyama furrowed his brow and muttered under his breath. No, that's not right. I might need this for something later. But we'll take Tanaka. Okay, he should be back. Yeah, okay, so he's back. And now we have a jump point for Kano. Kano is unlocked. After the young man's desperate pleading, the other fellow, apparently his father, finally gave in. He released his hold on Hitomi. The tension in the room was replaced by a solemn air of gravitas. Seeing father and son weeping as they spoke made Kano think back to his conversation with Tatano before the stakeout. What was it in people that drove them to do such horrible things? Sometimes it was the desire to save the ones they loved. Even such a heartfelt human emotion could drive someone to wrongdoing. Why? Why did people have to be like that? A sudden thud snapped Kano out of his musing. An instant later, Kanan hurried past him into the workroom. Maria had collapsed onto the floor, and now Kanan was beside her. In a panic, Kano rushed into the workroom as well. Stay back, Kanan shouted as the others tried to huddle around the fallen girl. Please don't be what I think this is. Had the virus gone symptomatic? 2 hours ago, Stanley had told Kano that Maria was infected. He'd also said that her symptoms wouldn't develop for another 4 hours. Shouldn't they still have 2 more hours left to go? Yeah, just all, it just works exactly on the timetable. Maria looked like she was dead. Her eyes closed, her body motionless. Hitomi tried to approach despite Kanan's warning. Maria, she cried. Maria, what's wrong? Kano held his arms wide to hold her back. Your sister has been infected with the UA virus. The UA virus? Hitomi's face went pale. Hey, Kano said to Kanan, should you really be that close? If she's developed symptoms. But Kanan didn't move from Maria's side. She calmly rested her hand on the other girl's forehead. There's no fever, she said. And there's no blood coming from her ears. No lymph swelling. I'll be alright. She hasn't gone symptomatic yet. In that case, why did she collapse? That was Hitomi. In that case, why did she collapse? Hitomi asked. I'm not sure yet. Whatever the case, if we don't get her that antiviral, she's done for. Then we have to get her to the lab right away, Hitomi said. She was trembling with anxiety. No, that's not an option. Kano's tone was grave. You may already be aware, Miss Osawa, but without a password, we can't access the antiviral storage. But when I went there, my father and Mr. Tanaka... Mamoru Tanaka is dead. Murdered. What? She stared at him, uncomprehendingly. No, that can't be true. He was a member of a crime syndicate. It's possible they killed him in order to silence him. So, then, there's no way to save my sister? There was a hollow look in Hitomi's eyes. No, I won't accept that. Why? Why can't we help her? But no one had an answer. Kano gritted his teeth and hung his head. Why did it have to come to this? He'd come this far, but there was nothing he could do, and he hated himself for it. I'll go to the laboratory. Oh, that was Kanan. It was Kanan. Electronic lockbreaking is my specialty. Wait, the young man Achi spoke up suddenly. So you're a martial arts badass, but your specialty is lockbreaking? He looked positively dumbstruck. Kanan ignored him, thinking out loud. Brute force. A cryptanalysis technique that involves test input of all theoretical possible patterns. If time were unlimited, this would be the most reliable means of decipherment. However, in practice, the process takes massive amounts of time and computational power, and can be defeated by systems that prohibit access after a limited number of failed input attempts. Side channel. Rather than trying to decipher the password itself, this method involves analyzing information from the device, such as processing time, power consumption, and electromagnetic leaks, and using these details to exploit the system. Isolating the run state of devices is a crucial element of countering side channel attacks. Shortcut. A cryptanalysis method that uses mathematical algorithms to carry out efficient bulk calculations against a block cipher that makes use of a shared key for encryption and decryption. Even when such calculations are theoretically possible, however, in practice, the process requires large amounts of time, and the block cipher is seldom at real risk. Given the situation, I think I'd have to go with side channel. Side channel? Stanley asked. What was it? What was the cipher? looks right to me. I don't know. Is something weird? Or is it the other? Did I see something? I think I've seen it as both. I think it can be both. Hello, Nis. Cypher's a bit old-fashioned. Yeah, I mean, I think I have seen it with the Y, at least in like older fiction, maybe. Side channel? Stanley asked. Where's your equipment? One of the lab PCs will suffice. I can connect to a special server from the net. I don't really understand the stuff you're talking about, Achi said. But I'll trust you to handle this. I mean, you did risk your life to save Hitomi from that minivan explosion and all. Kanan nodded. I have to warn you in advance, though. Cryptanalysis can take hours and still yield no results. I can't guarantee I'll be able to get the doors unlocked before Maria develops symptoms. I understand, Hitomi said. Achi nodded too. No one present had any objections. All of a sudden, there was a curious sound from somewhere in the room. Ah, you love to hear a curious sound. What's that? Kano asked. What's making that noise? He looked around the workroom. Oh god, it's all electronics. It could be any of these things. That's my computer. Daisuke hurried to his desktop. Okay, at least, you know, it wasn't anything bad. The makeup monitors, which had been displaying surveillance camera footage from around Shibuya, had all gone black. What the hell? What's going on, Dad? Achi joined his father, staring at the computer screens. It's all gone... The camera footage has been deleted. Daisuke blinked in disbelief. Now then, it seems our main cast has all been assembled. A man's voice, distorted by a voice modulator, suddenly emerged from the computer speakers. A moment later, the monitors all began to display a view of the inside of the workroom. Dad, what the hell is this? Someone's broken through our firewall. A security system for preventing unauthorized intrusion into a computer network. The term stems from a metaphorical reapplication of the concept of a wall, meant to inhibit the spread of fire or other destructive forces. They've hijacked the surveillance camera system. The color drained from Daisuke's face as he looked at the screens. Where are they filming us from? Kano asked, scanning the inside of the room. The computer stuff is so dumb in a funny way. I mean, it has to be a little dumb, right? Just, I think, what was it? I forget what it was, but it was very like cop show internet stuff, like last episode. Right, the IP config thing. He used the image on the monitors to guess where the camera might be located. Over here? The lens of a camera set atop the computer monitor glimmered like an eye. It was a miniature camera used for web conferencing and the like. Now that Maria and Hitomi are both there, you have probably surmised the situation at hand. And so I offer a proposal. The laboratory password in exchange for Hitomi's blood. Realizing now that it was Alphard's voice they were hearing, everyone in the room froze. At 7 o'clock, roughly 1 hour from now, see that Hitomi Osawa is waiting at the Scramble intersection, outside Shibuya Station, just like this morning. Unless, of course, you're feeling particularly confident. You do have Kanan with you. Perhaps you'd care to take a gamble on her lock-breaking skills instead? Kanan clucked her tongue in frustration. Alphard had known exactly what the plan was. Of course, if Kanan isn't able to get the door open in time, what will you do then? Maria is sure to die, yes. But that's not all. If you don't agree to my offer, I have the means of creating another Maria, and a third. Where was it? I'm sorry, I blanked out. I was too busy reading. I assume it was the last page. The U is next to I after tongue. Oh, okay, it was when she clucked her tongue. I don't know, too busy reading. These infectees will spread the virus throughout Tokyo. The death toll will likely number in the hundreds of thousands. It is difficult to predict the scope of infection in the event of a bioterrorist attack, employing a highly infectious viral agent in a city with a large and mobile population. In a worst-case scenario, some researchers estimate as many as several million infected in a matter of days. So do think carefully before you decide. Alfred's voice was chillingly matter-of-fact. See, you gotta trust in the cluck. I will appear at the rendezvous in person. After all, it wouldn't do for the star of the show to miss the final curtain. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you then. Silence fell. Then the images of the computer monitor returned to normal. The surveillance camera footage came back online as well. Daisuke promptly yanked out his Ethernet cable and slammed his fist on the keyboard. Damn it, there was a hole in the firewall. I'll have to redo my security from the ground up. That's what you're worried about right now, dude? Good call. Kanaka said calmly. We can't win if our intel keeps getting leaked. Stanley pursed his lips in consternation. What do we do? Kano asked him. Do we give in to his demands? I mean, do we really expect he's just going to blithely show up like that? He's practically begging for one of us to come and catch him. There had to be a deeper plan at work. If it means saving my sister, I'll do it. Hitomi was resolute. No, Stanley said, you can't. What? Why not? Because if you do, you'll be killed. What? Hitomi's voice caught in her throat. With the antiviral still present in your body a week after the fact, you're too much of a liability for Alphard to just let go. He's right, don't do it, Achi exclaimed. Hitomi, you can't go. Even still, I want to do it. Hitomi stared defiantly at Stanley. You still want to go even knowing that you'll be killed? I can't just sit here and hope that Kanan is able to pull this off, she said. I want to do something for my sister. I want to save her. She peered down at Maria, sprawled out on the floor. She'd object to me going, I'm sure of that. But I want to do what I can. To do the things my way. No one tried to contradict her this time. If she's willing to take the risk, then there are things the rest of you can do too. It was Kanan again. Let's hear it, Kano replied. He squared his shoulders. He was of the same mind as Hitomi. He couldn't just do nothing and leave it all on Kanan. After everything he'd been through, he wanted to stick with this case until the very end. Apprehend Alphard at the rendezvous and demand the password from him. Kanan offered the suggestion as if it were a simple task. That lets you get what you want without putting Hitomi in danger. Kano let out a sigh. Hold on, he said. Even if we do arrest him, how are we going to get him to cough up the password? We don't have time to drag him off to an interrogation room. And besides, he doesn't strike me as the sort to offer confession that easily. There are ways, Kanan said. Once Alphard had made contact with Hitomi, call my cell phone. Hitomi tilted her head. Call you? I have plenty of information Alphard might want to bargain with. Might want to bargain for. I can negotiate it with him directly. Kano considered Kanan's proposal. I see. So we'll try both options. Attempt to hack the password at the lab, and also try negotiating with Alphard. That gives us 2 chances. With that tiny ray of hope, Hitomi's face brightened some. We'll split into 2 groups, one for the lab and one for Shibuya Station, Kanan said. Let's exchange phone numbers so we can be in touch when the time comes. The group quickly shared contact info as suggested. Hitomi and Kanan called one another's phones to be sure. Hitomi's cheerful ringtone felt out of place, but also somehow soothing, a fragment of normalcy in the midst of crisis. Well, I guess we're all set then, Hitomi said, looking down at the LCD screen. Her expression turned apologetic. I'm sorry, Kanan, for having to keep putting things on you. Hey, Kanan replied. Don't worry about it. Okay, now I guess I should call my father. Hitomi called Kenji Osawa on his cell, asking him to let Maria and Kanan into the lab. Why don't we make this jump? And we'll come back to the Kano group. I feel like they're kind of like the main drive. Tanaka hadn't given Ai his password. Osawa's last chance had gone up in smoke. He let out a long, shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more he could do? Osawa's cell phone rang. When he saw the name on the incoming call display, he nearly shouted out loud. It was Hitomi. Hitomi? Are you alright? Please tell me you're alright. Yeah, I'm fine. But Maria... Is Maria there with you? Osawa's heart leaped. Dad, there isn't any time for me to explain everything, so I'll just have to give you the main points. This is so we can save my sister, so just stay calm and listen. Osawa struggled to hold back the 1,000 questions that immediately came boiling into his mind. There's a girl named Kanan who's going to bring Maria to the lab. She's going to try to hack the password in order to get us inside. Wait, hold on. Just what in the world is going on? There are a bunch of people here working to help save Maria. Can you wait for us at the lab, Dad? I'm not sure that electronic lock is something that'll be so easy to... We've got another plan in motion too, and if that goes well, we might be able to learn the password. It was all too much to follow, but Osawa realized he'd have to take Hitomi at her word. It was their only hope of saving Maria. Alright, he said, I'll do as you ask, but you said you're trying 2 approaches. You're not going to be in danger, are you? No, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. Okay. Very well, I'm heading to the laboratory right now. You can't. You can't go. That's the password on my luggage. You can't go. The moment Osawa hung up and started for the house, I clung to him from behind. If you use the antiviral now, she said, everything will go public. There's no way we can keep the virus or the antiviral under wraps at this point. Osawa tried to pull free, but his wife was stronger than he expected. Besides, if Maria infects other people, the whole world is going to find out in a matter of hours. Oh, that was probably Osawa. No, we can't. We could just quarantine her. If it's handled correctly, we'll still be able to retain secrecy. Ai's voice was cold as ice. Do you even have any idea what you're saying right now? I do. I know how it sounds. But this, the only thing I can... Her voice trailed off. He could feel the force of her trembling where she held him. Have I really put you into that much of a corner? Osawa slipped from Ai's arms and prostrated himself on the ground in front of her. I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly sorry. Oh, stop this. Get up. If you're really sorry, then don't go to that lab. But Osawa remained silent, his forehead pressed to the dirt. If you use that antiviral without corporate approval, your time with Okashi is finished. That doesn't matter to me anymore. How can you say that? Virology is the only thing you've ever cared about. I began pummeling his back. Maybe virology is all that I care about. I don't know the first thing about anything else. I never wanted to know. Never even thought to find out. Never bothered to learn what you or my own children might think. I'm a failure. As a father, and as a husband. How dare you say that only after it's come to this? I struck him again, harder than before. You're right, he gasped out the words between her blows. Maybe this has been too long coming. But it's not too late. I can still start over. Start over? She paused in disbelief. You already turned down that American job. If you use that antiviral now, there won't be any starting over. You'll lose everything. Will I lose you too? After you've gone and thrown everything else away like this? How could I possibly stay with you? I was sobbing softly now. Osawa wondered what her tears were for. But there was one thing he did know. She was right. They couldn't be together anymore. He got to his feet and headed back into the house, leaving Ai behind. He hurried through the back entrance and went into the garage. Climbed into his car, fastened his seatbelt, and took a deep breath. The image of a younger Maria arose in the back of his mind. There she was at that park, getting drenched by the rain, holding back her tears as she waited for her father. Wait for me, Maria. This time I'm going to come for you. I was wrong. Going to the lab wouldn't mean losing everything. He'd let too many important things slip through his fingers. Now it was time to go take them back. Hell yeah, Osawa! Osawa pulled his car onto the street and sped toward the laboratory. As if to signal that the long day was drawing to a close, the dazzling sun sank down between the buildings in the distance. Oh, maybe I should have had this happen last. Oh wow, Osawa's wrapped up. End of his story. And okay, since Osawa's ended, I really like his story. He doesn't do anything, right? Like, obviously he's the one behind, like, everything, right? The antiviral, the secrets, all that. But, he never leaves his house, really. But you really get his eternal thoughts, and you really get his, like... Yeah, we're down to 0 playable Osawas. We really get, like, a self-redemption story out of him, you know? That I think is really nice. I guess I'll talk more about that when we actually beat the game. What my thoughts on each storyline is. Okay, now I should call my father. Hitomi called Kenji Osawa on his cell, asking him to let Maria and Kanan into the lab. Kano leaned in to whisper into Kanan's ear. Are you sure you're okay with this? With what? I know that you're after Alphard. Are you sure you want to go to the lab and not... Right now I want to save Maria. That's all. Her tone was as curt and mechanical as ever, but there was a fierce gleam of determination in her eyes. Maria was clearly someone very special to her, Alright, Kano replied. Leave Alphard to me. He thumped himself on the chest. He'd succeed this time, no matter what the odds. Kano has like the worst batting average in this game of accomplishing anything. But maybe that means this is his time. Kano could scarcely recall the whirlwind of events that brought him here. He'd somehow survived a dozen disasters. Even now, a dear friend was in the hospital, at the risk of dying. There were times when he'd been ready to give up. And yet, at the end of it all, here he was. His opponent was an international terrorist. No matter how you looked at it, that wasn't a matchup for a mere detective. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Rumi, Shizuo, Sasayama, and Detective Tatsuno. I'm gonna take down Alphard and save Maria Osawa's life. Just you watch and see. To be continued, and that is 17 o'clock to 18 o'clock. Three protagonists remain. I'm sorry, Zuzune. The UA is out now. Mr. Mino, answer me. We meet at last, Alphard. You can go ahead and kill me. $1,800 to 20. How do people say 20? And like, I know you say 1,800. 2,000? And so the time comes to make a decision. What do we do? This is the last block of time. Achi cannot be used. Kano and Minorikawa are the only two. My worry, if we were to go on with this, is that we would hit 2 o'clock and not finish, and we'd be in the middle of something really important, right? I know you haven't probably played this in a long time, Plombo, so you probably couldn't give an estimate for this block. But do you think it is better that... This one is also double length in game time. And I assume it's going to be the densest. I assume Yamashita will appear. I don't think he doesn't appear. As for him having any impact on the story, I can't say for sure. But I think he'd appear. Though maybe just as a prologue. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. So yeah, we're gonna call the stream right here. I think this is a good place to stop. And I think maybe next week we do a longer stream. Maybe I start earlier. That way it isn't so late. And we'll do the stream. We'll do the big finale. Let's go to the ending screen. I'm just quitting the game right now. I never know if I hit the red X if the game's gonna save or not. So we're gonna wrap up tonight right now. This is tomorrow. This is the next week's schedule. It is it's only a placeholder right now. I haven't posted it, but here's what I want to do. Monday at the normal stream time at 3 p.m. Eastern, or I guess EDT. I need to change the schedule to EDT, huh? Goddamn time change. We're gonna celebrate March 10th, Mario Day, on the MSX. Don't worry, I have some very special stuff to show off for that. Tuesday we start a new MSX game with Kenja no Ishii, which is an MSX1 game, kind of an overhead dungeon crawler of sorts. Wednesday, we continue to try to make any sense of Woody Poco. I don't know how much more I can play that game without a guide. That game is baffling. Yeah, it's MSX March. Which is why I was like hoping to get done with this so I could go switch to MSX mode. But hey, 428 is MSX and Heart. Isn't there like a Door? I bet Door is on the MSX. Door was referenced. There's some kind of Door game inside of 428. I know that much. I think you might have to look at every route with Achi or something. I kind of want it. I love me some Door. That's not true. I don't think I love Door, but I don't hate Door. I just don't have an opinion on it. Thursday we take off. Friday we begin the MSX2 RPG Emerald Dragon. Now the weekend, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. I might make this a poll, or I might just ask the Discord. What day works better for you? Oh sure, yeah, Door had to be everywhere. Would a Saturday stream be good? Would a Sunday stream be good? Do you want it on the night, like we've been doing? Do you want it earlier in the day? We can figure that out together. I might just like list the 428 stuff as to be determined and then make like a final post on that later. But yeah, just let me know in the Discord or on the Blue Sky. They're both up there. What you think? What the final of 428 should be on? Let's see who we're gonna raid. Let's see. Someone's playing Mario Party Jamboree. Cool game. I think it's a fighting game. Can't tell what game it is. Oh, I think it's the one that Hilltop translated. Lobat is playing Zelda 3 Rando. Author Blues is playing Kirby Dream Land. Lord BBH playing Atari 2600 games. I might go there. Yeah, let's go raid BBH. He's a good guy. I've known him for a very long time. Yeah. Oh, he's playing Smurfs. Rescuing Gargamel's castle. Let's go. So yeah, come back this weekend. Check my Blue Sky. We'll have a big announcement of when we're gonna wrap up 428. And I will see you all tomorrow for March 10th, Mario Day. See you folks. Bye-bye.